You might think that ancient Egyptian royals had an easy life, lounging around, being carried through the town, and fanned by servants. But that was just a small part of their day. For the most part, they were incredibly busy. When it came to royal duties, ancient Egyptian royals worked overtime. Today, we're diving into what life was really like for an Egyptian royal. From around 3150 to 30 BC, Egypt was ruled by kings and queens known as pharaohs. In addition to eating and drinking like, well, kings, they spent their days overseeing Egypt's religious, economic, cultural, and political life. For most of their waking hours, pharaohs were constantly surrounded by people. This royal entourage consisted of members of the royal court, including officials, family members, noble servants, and royal bodyguards. Royals typically chose who would be in their company, often rewarding friends and relatives with these coveted positions. After rising from their beds in the morning, pharaohs were greeted by servants who prepared them for the day. These roles brought servants into close proximity with the pharaohs, even assisting them with bathing. Some rulers, like Hatshepsut, preferred to perfume themselves with rich oils to emphasize their high status. After bathing, an army of stylists specializing in everything from sandals to wigs would gather to dress them. Wigs were a serious business in ancient Egypt, to the extent that there were laws governing who could and couldn't wear them. Legally, slaves couldn't wear wigs, and the more elite you were, the better the quality of your wig. Royal wigs were the most elaborate, sometimes adorned with gold and silver threads. Wigs weren't just for the top of the royal heads. Pharaohs occasionally wore false beards for special events. These beard wigs became symbols of a pharaoh's power, worn to demonstrate that they were living gods on earth. With great power comes great responsibility, or rather, back-to-back meetings. According to the Greek historian Diodorus, all the actions of the pharaohs were regulated by laws, not only their administrative acts, but also their daily activities and the food they ate. However, Egyptologist Adolf Ehrman suggested that Diodorus's view of a highly regimented day was likely more idealized than reality. Nevertheless, pharaohs had religious and legal duties, such as participating in ceremonies and making judgments, which they fulfilled every day. They usually spent their mornings receiving guests and addressing issues. It wasn't optional. According to Diodorus, these tasks were mandatory. Whenever pharaohs left the palace, they traveled in chairs carried by servants. A fan-bearer's job could reflect a close personal relationship with the pharaoh, and it suggested that these fan-bearers might have been part of the pharaoh's bodyguard. Pharaohs weren't just kings of Egypt. They also claimed to be deities, serving as intermediaries between humans and gods. Because of this divine aspect of their title, their days were filled with a wide range of religious duties, such as appointing priests, ordering temple construction, and participating in ceremonies. According to the Greek historian Diodorus, pharaohs made daily visits to the temple for anointing and offering sacrifices to the gods. While Egyptian commoners mostly ate bread, beer, vegetables, and fish, royals enjoyed a more luxurious diet. Royal banquets might include dishes like goose, bull, and fresh fruits such as dates and figs. Wine was the drink of choice at royal courts. While the vast majority of ancient Egyptians practiced monogamy, kings were allowed multiple wives. Male pharaohs had a great royal wife, the highest-ranking wife, along with lesser wives, concubines, and harems. According to author Charlotte Booth, these harems showcased the king's wealth. In other words, the bigger the harem, the wealthier the pharaoh. These relationships often resulted in many children. Ramses II, for instance, was reputed to have fathered over 100 children by his wives and concubines. Pharaohs might pass the time traveling through the city, drawing large crowds of spectators. Since pharaohs determined where temples were built, they might also visit construction sites. Although all pharaohs invested in construction projects, Ramses II was particularly prolific. He used his building projects as propaganda to demonstrate his power. Only royals could hunt big game like lions, though pharaohs sometimes allowed other elites to join. Hunting wasn't necessary, as kings had all the food they needed prepared for them, but it was entertainment for the king and court alike, and they didn't need hunting skills. Pharaohs used the royal hunt to demonstrate their strength and show, as scholar Peter Lacovara put it, the king's mastery of the natural world. King Tutankhamun seems to have been no exception. with scenes in his tomb showing the young king returning from an ostrich hunt. Sometimes, a pharaoh's authority was challenged by family members. In 1155 BC, Ramses III was embroiled in the infamous harem conspiracy, where one of his wives, Tai, likely orchestrated the plot so her son could rule. Ancient Egyptian royals certainly led colorful, larger-than-life existences. If you enjoyed this journey into the lives of ancient Egyptian royals, make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay updated with all our latest videos. We bring you more intriguing stories and fascinating historical events. Hit the subscribe button now to join us on our time-traveling adventures.